The fourth one goes along with that, which is H, with his hope. This is hope for the future, hope that things are going to happen. If we're talking about desire, goodness gracious, we need hope that if we plant a seed in the ground, that it's going to grow into something. That if we start putting water on it and start nourishing it, making sure it has fertilizer and sunlight, making sure animals don't come over and eat it, we got to have the hope that it's eventually going to grow. What if I told you that the only thing between you and the results that you want is a burning desire? I remember several years back, I was sitting in a chair, black suit on, had a red tie, tried to be the powerhouse. But as I looked around, I saw business individuals, some wearing suits, some wearing just jeans, khakis, and a shirt. But as I looked around, I felt overwhelmed that I did not fit in this room. And it brought up these feelings from my entire life, ever since I was first diagnosed with dyslexia, that I just do not fit in the room. Back in the first grade when I first got diagnosed, I thought it was just another thing that was happening. Another thing that school said that I could just bypass and still remain friends with people, still have fun. But I didn't know the toll it was going to take. As I went through elementary school, I was going every Friday, the last hour of the day, I'd go to a special class to where we'd read and write and learn and get candy and prizes. It was one of the coolest classes. But I didn't realize is that every time I came back, all my friends were talking behind me, asking why I was going to a separate class, why I was in the special course, and what was making Willie different. And I continued into middle school to where I had to meet with every single one of my teachers before school even started to set up a plan in case I needed extra time when it came to tests or assignments. Then I went into high school to where I was walking with my friends down the hall. And as we were walking there after lunch, they would go into the classroom and I'd stand there looking in, wishing to go in. But it was an honors writing class. And for someone who struggled a lot with reading and writing and speaking and spelling, that class always seemed out of hand. And so I'd walk down a few more doors to my reading class, to which there are kids in there who didn't want to be involved in school, didn't give much of a care to what was going on. And I felt out of place. And it continued on, even up to this moment where I'm sitting in that chair. I have my suit on, I have my red tie to where I feel out of place in this room. But I look forward and I see a friend of mine who's up there, who's hosting this big event that's happening. And as I sat there, he asked a question and I raised my hand. The first question I asked at the very beginning was, what if the only thing between who you are and who you want to be is a burning desire? I could tell you that when it comes down to desire, which Napoleon Hill in his Think and Grow Rich book and his 13 Principles highlights as the very first step, that desire for me wanting to be more, from me looking back into elementary school, middle school, and high school and thinking, what if I can do more? What if I'm more than just this reading challenge, this writing difficulty? What if I'm more than just this speaking impediment? What if I want to do more? And so I started to look for more things. I started to talk with individuals. I realized that dyslexia had such an advantage to it with out of the box thinking and empathy and communication, as well as different perspective and patterns that go on. It's one of the coolest things that I have that I call a superpower. And now I've created a business based off of that to help teach dyslexics how to thrive in their career and personal life. And that all started from that moment in that event where my friend asked the question of who's ready to show up for their life. And I raised my hand because I simply had a desire, a simple desire to be more than I was. And so from there, it's been several years since then, and I've grown up with that friend, such a dear friend of mine, as well as have met so many other cool people. And as my inner circle grows and continues to up their standards as well as up my own, I have found that when it comes to desire, there's two things that are present that are needed to go from where you are to where you want to go. And the first one is your why, and the second one is the action to get to where you want to go. That first one with why. Evan Carmichael was one of my first mentors. He was a big YouTuber, is a big YouTuber, was one back in the day, and he came up with this 10 levels of success principles that he do for people like Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey and Lewis Howes and all these and Grant Cardone, all these individuals. He came up with these 10 success principles for each of them that they would talk about. And as I found commonalities in it, I realized that the why is so important. And even Evan Carmichael wrote a book called Your One Word, to which I've adapted into myself, which is the one word why, which is taking your why and smushing it all the way down to a single word. For me, my word is light. And when I think of my desire, I've broken this into 5 different things when it comes to light. And I think the word's acronym. I'm going to say acronym, and I hope I'm right, but 5 different words to it. Number 1, L. L is for love. This is to be able to love yourself. This is to be able to love what you do and the love that you have for other people. This goes back to the heart, the very beginning of what creates a desire, the seed that is planted that we are able to then nourish. Number 2 is I, for inspire. This is taking that desire and starting to nurture it, starting to inspire others, inspire yourself to have mutual connections, be able to go out and share with other people, get perspectives, gain knowledge, gain experience, and most importantly, combine that into wisdom. It's to bring together the entirety of nurturing that seed. 3 is G, for gratitude. If I've learned anything, if you want to change your attitude, change your gratitude. And the way to have gratitude is to go from your mental state to a physical state. Anytime that I am in just a freaking bog and I got fog in my mind and I just can't think of the next steps I need to do, every single time I have done a gratitude exercise to where for 15 minutes, I will start with the letter A and I will say things that I'm grateful for. And I won't go to the next letter until I think of all the things I can. And for 15 minutes straight, I do that. And every single time I come out of it with clarity and with appreciation. Gratitude and anxiety can't live in the same room. If you are truly grateful, you can't be anxious. If you are anxious, you're not being grateful. They're two polar opposites. And I've learned that as I've wanted to have light in my life and share that with other people. And as they have had light in theirs, the ones that truly are living their lives are the ones that have gratitude. So with desire, if you have a desire to do something, appreciate what you have because you have a lot. The 4th one goes along with that, which is H, with his hope. This is hope for the future, hope that things are going to happen. If we're talking about desire, goodness gracious, we need hope that if we plant a seed in the ground, that it's going to grow into something. That if we start putting water on it and start nourishing it, making sure it has fertilizer and sunlight, making sure animals don't come over and eat it, we got to have the hope that it's eventually going to grow. So with that desire, that seed that we plant, we have hope for the future that as we do things, as we are consistent with what we're doing, that we'll be able to get that result that we want. And the last one is T, for time. And this plays into that consistent action when it comes to desire. Time is the only thing that we have. It's the only thing that we cannot get back. I can't tell you how many elderly individuals that I've met with where I've asked them, what do they regret? What do they wish they would have done? And they would have always have an answer. And the biggest thing is just, I wish I had more time. And so I had to add that in there because time is so important. And we use the time that we have right now because tomorrow we don't have today's time. And as the months go on, we don't know when our hourglass is going to clock out, but we're able to use today to move forward with what we desire. And so that's my acronym for light. Whenever I share that with people and we talk about desire, that's the beginning thing. Like, what do you love? What do you want to inspire people with? What thing do you already have in your life that instead of seeing it as a challenge, you need to be grateful for? And maybe it's actually a power and an advantage that you have that you just don't see. What is it, something that you want to hope for? Are you wanting to be the next Tony Robbins? Are you wanting to make $10 million? Are you simply wanting to be around your kids more? Hope for the future, and then take that time that you need to move forward. And with time, I have one thing that I always use whenever I get stuck with overthinking things and the hit analysis paralysis, which is what I call the 2% rule. And this is taking 2% action every single day to get to where you want to go. If your goal is 100%, 2% every day will get you there. And I can't tell you, every time that myself, as well as the clients that I've worked with, every time that we have done this, we have surpassed that 100%. But it's about the daily consistencies and not the big stuff, the small little actions that we do to get to that desired result that we want. And it can be super simple. This can simply be showing up to an event. It can simply be going on a date with your wife. It can simply be, like I did in my reading journey, going to a bookshelf, picking a single book. The smallest purple book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was for me. Opening the book and reading chapter 1. The burning desire that we have within ourselves is the sole thing that's going to take us from where we are to where we want to go. And so I want to ask you, champions, what is that desire for you? What is that little kid inside of you saying, this is something that I have wanted my entire life? This would be so cool to have, and I would want it. What is that for you? And I challenge you to take that and then figure out what that next 2% step is right now where you're at. Next 2% action that you can take to get to where you're wanting to go, to hit that childhood dream, hit that goal, that vision, that finish line, that northern star that you were aiming for. I know that you can hit it. I've seen it multiple times with the people I've worked with, as well as with myself. But it's taking the daily consistent actions to truly envelop the desire that Napoleon Hill talks about in his book. Move forward with desire, have it burning within you, and you can't imagine. And actually, you actually can imagine exactly what you can get. So go take that action, and I can't wait to see what comes from it.